Hi everyone. My gender identity that I identify with, I am a female African American woman born of African immigrants. From an early age, culturally, like the Ghanaian culture played a heavy role in terms of my gender identity, in terms of kind of controlling the gender identity I was and the gender roles I was supposed to fulfill as being the firstborn girl in an immigrant family. Because kind of like in Ghanaian culture, the firstborn girl is like the next mom essentially. So I was responsible for taking care of people, taking care of the emotions in my family, handling, helping out with stuff, cooking, cleaning, all those things. So, and I feel like at an early age, because of that whole idea, that idea alone kind of like constructed and defined my gender role and my gender identity as a woman. Like, this is what I'm supposed to do because culturally it's acceptable. But I think that, you know, it kind of harmed me in a way because it was like it caused me to believe that, like, okay, well, maybe this is how I have to be in order to be socially accepted because, you know, um, because the community I grew up with is mostly Ghanaian too. So it's like if I didn't go according to those norms and, if I didn't follow those, um, the gender role I was supposed to do, I would be seen as kind of like not, what do you call it, culturally acceptable. So it definitely did have a huge effect on me. And it kind of also caused me to kind of like not want to be, I kind of hid from hitting at my creative expressive side because I wasn't given the freedom to kind of like, you know, explore and, do new things and try new things out, as a woman, because it was like I constricted to fit in this box. Like, okay, you're a girl, you're the first daughter, so you're the mom, next charge, next in line. And I think that this goes to show that sometimes culturally, the gender roles and that certain cultures have can be very dangerous and also can even be oppressive because it's like you fit and you put somebody in a certain box and they have to fulfill that role. And if they don't, then the community and society around you looks at you like you're crazy, like, oh, it's not really normal. And also goes to show, like, even definitely like gender can also tie into race. In my case, it can tie into race and culture because I could even say that, you know, with coming from that Ghanaian American background culturally, there were also a lot of like, you know, things that affected my identity, my gender role as well, that kind of like caused me to also like not have as much confidence in myself because, like as the girl, you cook and clean, that's all you're supposed to do. Like, and also there's also like ideas that like within the culture, like for example, when it came to like children in general, or maybe like female children were to be seen and not heard. So like that like caused me as a child to like not want to be expressive. I wasn't very expressive. I kind of kept to myself. So it's like because of that, it's like you put, and it's also detrimental or like later on, and also can, be can also be like dangerous to also like development as well, as you grow, like as a woman, girl growing up to one, being told that, you can only be seen and not heard. So you're telling me like I don't have a voice, I can't do this, and it also kind of like affected me as I got into, upper level grades, like, you know and also lessening the confidence in myself until I was able to come to a point to realize that, my cultural background doesn't define my gender role, doesn't define my gender identity. What I feel and what I believe do. And, oppression, definitely, like, I can definitely talk about, like, that the heavy influence of cultural identity on, and the cultural roles on, like, gender identity can also lead to many discriminatory things because, you know, times where I wanted to express myself. For example, like I remember like in middle school, I wanted to, you know, try something new with my hair because my hair is a form which I was trying to be more expressive with myself. So I was like, okay, cool, let me go ahead and try new hairstyles. So my mom did hairstyles on me, and like I remember people would laugh at me and do all these things. So I always tried to change my hair to make it look more appropriate according to societal norms, societal standards. So also it shows that culturally how culture and like societal standards and societal things can also like, and mindsets can also affect people's gender identity, and it can also prevent people from truly being who they are. You know, like I said, once again, going back to that box, like fitting you in a certain category of the way you're supposed to act based off how you look. And then also when one comes to realize that gender is beyond biology, it is more social and cultural, I think that's where growth comes in. Because once you start to realize that, no, I'm not defined by my gender based off of because I have this part, but it's mostly because of how I interact in my culture, my society, and also from the society too. If the society upon that gender is positive and, you know, has allows that gender to express, the person who identifies with a certain gender to express themselves and to be who they truly are, then therefore, you know, it decreases the chances of oppression and discrimination because you're letting people be who they truly are, and the society is not creating rules in a way, like again, back to the boxes for people to fit in and to be in because they identify with a certain gender, or they, you know, they have to do a gender role, certain gender role. Like if you're a man, you gotta be masculine, you gotta be this, you gotta be that. If you're a woman, you have to be feminine, you have to be dainty, you have to be quiet. You can only be seen, not heard. Your voice doesn't matter. No. But I think that it also goes to show, like, as a society and certain cultures also have a long way to go in terms of understanding that you don't put people in a certain role, but you let people be who they are. Because I feel like in order to have a society to be successful and for people to have different mindsets and perspectives, you have to allow people to be able to freely express themselves without coding them to a certain, you know, certain action, lifestyle, or biologically, like, you know, you're a woman, so you're supposed to be a mom and it ends there. No, I'm a woman. I can be a mom, but I can also be, you know, I can also work. I can also make money on my own. I can also provide, you know, I don't have to be a mom. So there's like understanding that there can be different outlets and different things that people can bring to the table. And it's not just, oh, because I'm a Black woman, I'm tied to XYZ this. No, but it's like, I can do many things, and society shouldn't hold me down and oppress me because I identify with a certain gender, I identify with a certain race. It even goes along to the point of race, sexuality, all these things. Like, you should be able to be who you are without facing oppression, discrimination in society. And I think it also, like I said, it all comes down to what is so mainstream, what is seen as acceptable, popular in society. Because if you don't fit that box, because society, I feel like society has always, in terms of gender and identity, they've always ran with a box. So if you don't fit that box and you don't fit that category and you don't fit that idea of what is acceptable, people are going to look down on you, and it shouldn't be that way. So I think it all comes down to what society is really going off of and what, you know, they're choosing to be seen as acceptable. I think today, I definitely feel there's definitely a more inclusivity. There's definitely work that still needs to be done in many areas. But I think the society, and especially this generation, is now realizing that people like me, you know, and others who are different as well, and all people don't have to fit a certain or act a certain way because we look a certain way, or fulfill a certain role because we look a certain way. No. So I feel like when it comes to my story, I'm glad I was able to kind of escape that, you know, that heavy cultural influence upon, you know, my life. And when I grew up as a kid, I was able to escape it. When I finally became like, you know, teenager-ish, I was able to kind of like go into school, break out of that, and realize who I am as a person, and kind of step up for myself and tell myself that, hey, no, like, you know, apart from me taking care of this, I should also be taken care of as a person, and kind of voicing out my opinion and learning how to speak up more and also voice my emotions and also voice how I feel. Because I think that in terms of gender identity and gender roles, when people become oppressed and discriminated against, it's so hard for them to speak up because they don't really see people who are like them doing the same. So I feel like once I was able to kind of get older, see other girls like me, you know, talking about their natural hair, embracing their natural hair, embracing their natural beauty, you know, I was able to comfortably rock any hairstyle and go to middle school, high school, college with any hairstyle because I saw people like me doing it and they were talking about it on social media. So overall, it really cultural like norms in terms of like gender and gender roles, gender identity are very detrimental. But I feel like once the culture, if the culture is able to learn that and to no longer put people in a certain box because of their identity, I think that people, once again, like myself, can be who they really are without having to fulfill a certain role just because they have a certain body part or, you know, just because they look a certain way. Thank you.